I got a call at work that said, "I just saw your brother on the news. They're saying he kidnapped a baby from the daycare parking lot." He did what? I instantly turned on the TV just as the news anchor said, "Developing story," and showed footage from a daycare security camera. There was my brother's beat-up sedan, and the video showed him jogging back to it while clutching a blue baby blanket that was clearly wrapped around something struggling and wiggling. The caption underneath read, "Suspect wanted in daycare abduction." The reporter explained that my brother had been there dropping off donated items when staff witnessed him take an infant and speed away. I called him right away, but his phone went straight to voicemail. This was completely insane because my brother would never hurt anyone, let alone steal a baby. But I had to get to his house and figure out what happened before the cops got there. I jumped in my car, and I was doing 70 in a 45 zone and didn't even care because every second mattered right now. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and I couldn't stop thinking about how this was going to destroy his entire life. While I drove, I kept trying to call my brother over and over, but his phone stayed dead, which made everything worse because what if he was already in custody, or what if he was running? My phone suddenly blared that horrible Amber Alert sound, and I nearly swerved into the other lane because the noise scared me so bad. I glanced down and saw my brother's license plate number right there on the alert with a description of his car and the words, "Child abduction in progress." I couldn't believe this was actually happening. My brother was a kidnapper and he was going to go to prison. I ran a red light and nearly sideswiped a truck because my mind was racing too fast. His apartment complex finally came into view, and I didn't see any police cars yet, which meant I'd beaten them here, but barely. I needed to hear his side before the cops dragged him out in handcuffs, and his face ended up on every news station in the country. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might explode. When I reached his door, I could hear sirens in the distance getting closer, and I knew I had maybe 2 minutes before I lost my brother forever. I pounded on his front door until he finally answered. Before he could say anything, I grabbed him by the shoulders and said, "Where's the baby? What did you do?" He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "What baby? What are you talking about?" I heard the strangest sound coming from his apartment, like a baby crying, but wrong somehow. I shoved past him into the apartment, terrified of what I was about to find. I froze completely when I got to the living room. My brain couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. Standing on his coffee table wearing a diaper and a onesie was the tiniest goat I'd ever seen, and it was chewing on his TV remote. I just stood there staring because I could not process what was happening. My brother closed the door and said, "Dude, what are you doing here? What baby?" He looked genuinely confused about why I was standing in his house breathing like I just run a marathon. I stared at him and then at the goat and back at him. "What happened at the daycare this morning?" He laughed and gestured at the goat. "Oh man, this little guy escaped his carrier and almost got himself killed." "Why?" I felt my legs go weak. "You're all over the news right now." His face went completely pale. "What are you talking about?" I showed him the news coverage and watched his expression go from confused to horrified. "Oh my god, they think I stole a baby?" He sat down hard on his couch and the goat jumped into his lap. "My friend needed someone to watch her baby goat for a few days while she's on vacation. He's only 3 weeks old and needs bottle feeding every few hours." He was talking really fast now. "I brought him with me to the daycare this morning because I had to drop off those donations and I couldn't leave him here alone. When I opened the door to get the boxes out, he jumped out. He was running straight toward the road." My brother's voice was getting higher and more panicked. I grabbed the first thing I could find, which was this baby blanket from the donation pile, and I just scooped him up and wrapped him in it so he wouldn't squirm away. I could hear the sirens outside getting louder. My phone died right after I left because this little maniac ate my charger. He looked down at the goat who was now chewing on his shoelace. I let out this huge breath I didn't realize I'd been holding and actually laughed. My brother didn't kidnap anyone. This whole nightmare was just a ridiculous misunderstanding. Suddenly someone was pounding on the door. "Police, open up!" My brother and I stared at each other in panic as we realized that the cops still think he's a kidnapper. It took about 30 minutes of explanation before they finally believed him. Right as the cops were about to leave, I heard splashing coming from the bathroom. I walked over and pushed open the door to find a full-grown duck swimming in the bathtub. My brother looked over and said, "Oh yeah, that's Gerald. I'm babysitting him too."